As fellow community members, HTC believes friends and neighbors deserve services that keep the day running smoothly. No matter where life takes me, HTC keeps me connected by providing world-class technology to Horry and Georgetown counties. Because you are here, and so are we. HTC, this is life. Connect with it.
There's an amazing place where family vacation memories are made and shared over and over again, where new experiences never disappoint, and where the only thing better than visiting is coming back again. Book your family vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com and discover amazing values on area accommodations and family-friendly attractions. There's never been a better time to visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where family time has never been so much fun.
Inside the Myrtle Beach Convention Center on a beautiful day in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It is the winner's brackets, round number 2 of the Beach Ball Classic 39th Annual. Tonight we'll have the St. John's Cadets out of Washington, D.C., 9-0 on the season versus the Baltimore Poly Engineers at 6-0 on the season. And we'll have starting lineups in just a moment and the national anthem whenever we are ready. All right, let's throw it across the way to our PA announcer, Wally B.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again we welcome you to the 39th Annual Beach Ball Classic. At this time, we ask if you are willing and able, please join us in honoring those who've paid the price and made the sacrifice for all the great things we enjoy in our wonderful country. Please join us for the playing of the national anthem. Gentlemen, please remove your hats. Place your hands on hearts, your hands and hats over your hearts. Thank you so much. Here we go. This is our 15th round of the best high school basketball action in the country here at the 39th Annual Beach Ball Classic. This round of action pits 2 unbeaten teams against each other. From Baltimore, Maryland, the visiting Baltimore Polytech Parrots, and from Washington, D.C., the St. John's Cadets. Let's meet our starting lineup, starting with the Baltimore Poly Engineers. At guard, a 6-foot sophomore wearing number 2, Bryce Lindsay. At forward, a 6'8" senior wearing number 10, Justin Lewis. At guard, a 6-foot senior wearing number 11, Raheem Ali. At forward, 6'8" freshman wearing number 12, Jamal Evans. And number 23 is senior Brandon Miree. The Baltimore Polytech Engineers are coached by head coach Sam Brand, assisted by Anthony Fitzgerald, Kenny Wood, Larry Tucker, and Michael Turner. The Baltimore Polytech Engineers team ambassadors, Daryl and Sharon Carr. Now for the home team, St. John Cadets from Washington, D.C. Starting at guard, a 6'4" sophomore, number 1, Shane Lancaster. At guard, a 6-foot senior wearing number 3, John Manzi Wilson. At guard, a 6'4" senior wearing number 5, Ishmael Leggett. At forward, a 6'7" freshman wearing number 15, Amani Hansberry. And at forward, 6'6" senior wearing number 32, John Mikey Square Jr. The St. John's Cadets are coached by Patrick Behan, assisted by Patrick O'Connor, Damar Marine, Jamal Hullam, James Martyr, Stephen Wilson, Artie Bryant, and Jackie Ellis. The St. John Cadets team ambassadors, Chase and Tiffany Smith. The officials for this contest, Jake Rosiak, Tom Cock, and Joe Rosano.
2 16-minute halves here in the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and it will be St. John's College Cadets versus the Baltimore Poly Engineers. Tyler Watkins, Colin Stevens, courtside inside the Myrtle Beach Convention Center on a beautiful day. Woke up this morning, Colin, it was about 70-some degrees.
Perfect.
My girlfriend jumped out of bed and said, "I'm going surfing." I said, "Well, I'm going to sleep." And off she went. Poly will control to open the game. Let's get some identification going. That's Bryce Lindsay with the ball. To the top, swinging around, Raheem Ali, and the long 3 on the way by Justin Lewis.
Some good action there early, a couple of back screens, both teams playing man-to-man defense. St. John's also setting back screens and into a pick and roll here.
This is Ishmael Leggett over to Mikey Square Jr. And Mikey Square not able to find the bottom of the net. Back over to Brandon Miree. Miree was pivotal in last night's game against Harvard Westlake, or actually yesterday afternoon's game. It was a 3 p.m. game.
Both teams being very deliberate with their offense, feeling each other out here a little bit. I would expect this game to open up some in terms of tempo and pace.
Bryce Lindsay now, dribble drive inside, and the reverse can't get it to fall. Easy rebound for Ishmael Leggett. Leggett, the Rhode Island commit, 6'4" senior wearing number 5 in white tonight. Turnaround jumper, not good. Still after it though, and follow the shot. That's what you want from Amani Hansberry.
Hansberry gives his guys an extra opportunity at the glass. Gets one to go.
Raheem Ali, Justin Lewis. Lewis to the left wing and then takes it inside himself. He'll get called for the charge though.
And that's what you want as a coach defensively, your guys to slide in and be tough enough to take a charge there. St. John's able to get a defensive stop there. Lewis picks up an early one.
Dribble drive inside, bring it back out is John Manzi Wilson. Wilson has offers from Manhattan, Iona, and JMU. Controls this offense for the St. John's Cadets, led by head coach Patrick Bien. And the bounce pass inside didn't look like Hansberry was waiting for it, or just missed it, took his eye off it.
It was a poor entry. And it's important that point guards can throw those post entries, especially if St. John's is wanting to play through the post. Being able to feed that post is important.
Justin Lewis, the Marquette signee, to the left wing. And three-pointer finds the bottom of the net for Brandon Miree.
And he's back to his old ways from the other night.
Yesterday with 23 points and 3 rebounds, the HTC player of the game. To the top of the key, inside out now. Finds the wide open man from the right corner, and Leggett struggles.
And Justin Lewis, being 6'8", attacking, trying to get into the paint, spins off there, gets a blocking foul called there on St. John's.
Coming in for Baltimore Poly is Raymond English, and sitting down will be Kwame Evans Jr. English is the type of guy that you forget about for a minute, Colin, and all of a sudden he's up under the basket, getting the rebound, putting it back up. He's quick, he's small, but super quick underneath.
Nice touch there by Justin Lewis to get himself going here early.
And Baltimore Poly controlled the entire game yesterday. They've started out the same way here. St. John's going to get called for a walk, and that is John Mikey Square.
Tell you what, John Wilson for St. John's is quick. He's got great pace, looks to attack and then kick. The pace of the game is picking up. Raheem Ali gets to the rim on that one.
John Manzi Wilson. Inside post up, turn around, tries to find the angle, and Hansberry will get bailed out underneath.
So this kid is a freshman. He's got good size, he's got pretty good hands.
And he has offers.
He has offers.
From Virginia Tech and Rhode Island. And I heard that, and we hear that a lot from players, but then the coach followed it up with, as a freshman. And I said, wow.
Right, right. He's got great size, and they play through him. It's unique to play through a freshman, even if they're talented in the post. But that just shows how much Coach Behan, trusts his players, and that's what they design their offense around. St. John's picks up with a little 2-2-1 pressure, changing the tempo of the game.
That point at the free throw line broke a 7-0 run by Baltimore Poly. Now nearly 4 minutes into the game. Poly looking inside, and their guy, Brandon Miree, with another one up off the right side.
I'll tell you what, he is a strong athlete, puts his shoulder down, gets balanced on that finish.
Here's Shane Lancaster. Dribble drive inside, and nice little just bouncer around for Leggett. Ishmael Leggett had 23 points in their win over Morgan Park yesterday. They defeated them 65-60. Almost half of the points came in the paint. Long three-point drainer for Bryce Lindsey.
Super confident stroke. He knew that thing was going up about 3 or 4 feet behind the three-point line.
Manzi, coast
Wilson.
to coast, right up off the glass.
Wow. Quick, great pace. Little hesitation there at the free throw line, and he gets to the rack.
Raymond English gets it into the hands of Brandon Miree. And they find Lewis. And between Lewis and Miree and the talent on the court and the support staff they have, this Baltimore Poly team is very good. It's a 12-7 lead for Poly, and we'll return in just a moment for more action from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's the Beach Ball Classic.
There's an amazing place where family vacation memories are made and shared over and over again, where new experiences never disappoint, and where the only thing better than visiting is coming back again. Book your family vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com and discover amazing values on area accommodations and family-friendly attractions. There's never been a better time to visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where family time has never been so much fun.
Poly starts out with a 71% shooting percentage from the field and the lead 12-7 over St. John's on day number 3 of the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Tyler Watkins, Colin Stevens sitting courtside. Two teams from around the Baltimore-Washington area, the Baltimore Poly Engineers and the St. John's College Cadets from Washington, D.C. And St. John's is John Manzi Wilson across the timeline, guarded by Raymond English.
And the reason that Wilson is getting, he's got the offers that he has, even though he's a smaller player, he's under control, he runs the offense, he gets the ball to the right guys, and he can also create.
And that is exactly what the scouting report says on him. He's controlled with the ball and distributes it as it needs. Another long three-pointer on the way for Poly. And getting after the second effort is Raheem Ali, a 3-year starting point guard for Baltimore Poly. Has some offers from Loyola and Towson, among many others. He'll sit for a moment and bring in Ian Wallace.
And that kid, he's got an opportunity to win 4 straight state championships.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. Baltimore Poly has won the last 3 state championships in a row, 17, 18, and 19, defending now. Leggett against Miree, and Leggett's going to go to the line for a couple as a blocking call is made.
And St. John's, they run their action. They get a little dribble handoff there for Leggett to get him going back to the middle. And he shows why he's, capable of playing in the A-10 with Rhode Island. His ability to get to the rim, take some contact. Doesn't get that one to go, but getting to the free throw line sometimes is a undervalued ability, and it's easy points, gives your team a chance to get set. Also, as a scorer, sometimes you may not be shooting it well from the outside, but when you see a couple go through the rim at the free throw line, it can really get you going.
That's 4 points in the game now for Leggett, as he makes both from the free throw line.
And pressure from St. John's.
Watson almost had it. Quickly ahead to Lewis, up underneath. No call fouled. Miree with the rebound and the putback, and he'll go to the line for a couple. Brandon Miree, a 6'5" senior from Baltimore Poly.
And I'll tell you what, Coach Brand is going nuts over there.
Yeah, Sam Brand for Baltimore Poly.
Yes, he has a great gripe right now because, with that much contact, there has to be a foul called. And I don't care which way. Now, it looked like it was clearly a defensive foul, but no call at all. And Coach Brand, wanting to protect his guys too, I haven't seen a referee change a call, but he's also making his point known.
Miree with 7 points in the game now makes both of the free throws and quickly to the other court for St. John's. St. John's College High School, making their 4th appearance in the Beach Ball Classic. Quickly ahead to Miree. A stutter step. They get it to Lewis up underneath, and defensive rebound for St. John's. That's James Wood into the game.
And you can see the pace is picking up, which is expected.
And Wood comes in and puts the extra effort in, but can't get it to fall either. Justin Lewis now. The Marquette signee, 6'8" senior. Off to Miree. Gets his man. I think they call that breaking the ankles, don't they, Colin? That was pretty good.
A fantastic shot from Miree as he rises up and strokes that one. This is his coming out party, it seems.
Off the leg of Poly, and a scrum on the floor. Jump ball situation, or do they call a foul?
I believe they called it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. The possession arrow is headed in St. John's favor.
But you see how both of these teams are undefeated. You see the fire that these teams play with. That ball went on the floor. It wasn't 0.1 seconds before somebody was on the deck for that. So you can just see the expectations of both of these teams The benches are all into it. I mean, this is high caliber basketball.
And look at the floater up underneath for St. John's Ishmael Leggett.
And he's a talented player, gets to the rim, knows how to finish, really good athlete.
Bryce Lindsay off to Miree, off to Ian Wallace now, to Lewis. Lewis thinks about the three and now will take the easier shot inside the paint. But another defensive rebound for St. John's. St. John's with 6 rebounds in the game. And 6 as well for Poly, so matched up pretty evenly. Poly shooting 50% from the field now. St. John's 36% from the field.
And St. John's looking to push the pace. It's a little different when they have Wilson in because he pushes it and doesn't turn it over. They've got a young guard right now, young freshman guard in Malik Mack pushing it there, and it's a little out of control, but I'm sure he'll learn. He's learning from Wilson.
Long three-pointer doesn't fall. We're halfway through the first half here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. 2 16-minute halves. Little different court as well. This is a college-length course, and look at the three by Justin Lewis. Colin, we've talked about this, 94 feet for this court.
Yep.
Normal high school court is 84 feet, and that affects your angles and affects your stamina, and sometimes you just don't expect it.
The stamina for sure, and it opens up the court a little bit, especially in transition. It opens up the court, and it's absolutely beneficial for the teams that are in great shape, that will move the ball, that will take advantage of it in transition.
To the line is James Wood. Wood still looking for their first points of the game. And the smooth stroke gets it to fall. Wood, a 6'7" junior. You may remember St. John's. In 2007, they came with Chris Wright. Went on to play at, I believe he played at Georgetown. And in the NBA, he was recently inducted into the St. John's Hall of Fame last year, in 2018 inductee. His father would sit on the sidelines and yell, "It's the Chris Wright Show!" You could hear it on the broadcast every time. "It's the Chris Wright Show!"
I tell you what, both of these teams are very, very well poised.
Long three in a battle, keeps after it. White will come up with it, and a foul going to be called. Assume against Raheem Ali.
And St. John's has thrown 2 types of pressures. They've thrown 2-2-1, and then they threw a diamond pressure. Poly handled both of them very well.
Let's set the stage again for St. John's. We got Shane Lancaster in, as well as John Mikey Square Jr., John Manzi Wilson, and Amani Hansberry, and James Wood.
Poly changing things up here with a little 3-2 zone, 2-3. It's morphing a little bit, but they're throwing St. John's into some confusion. Really good defensive possession there from Poly.
Just at 6 minutes to go, Poly with a 7-point lead has had the lead for the entire game.
And what a you know, as a coach, what a benefit to be able to have a 6'8" guard-ish type player that can put the ball behind his back and attack to the paint to make a play for himself or somebody else. There's no question that, you know, and it's no wonder why Poly has been so good over the past several years.
Here's the HTC replay. Inside, and you'll see they called the block. Out to Kwame Evans Jr., going to be a big-time player, just a freshman. Got offers from Virginia Tech, DePaul, and Auburn. He's wearing orange number 12. I guess that's orange. Is that red, Colin? Orange, red? It's red.
Look, these teams are going at it, and they are very familiar with each other. As we said, 43 miles apart. And I'll tell you what, they don't want to give each other an inch.
Yeah.
not an inch. They've both been on the deck for every loose ball.
Well, and both of these teams are undefeated as well.
Yep.
And you only get to that point if you're scrappy. You get after the ball, and late game, it seems to be those teams that are undefeated always have great late game play.
Absolutely.
Or preparation for late game.
They have great preparation at the end, but they also have great players that can execute the preparation. So
if the coach comes up with it, if the player can't execute,
oh man,
just out of luck, huh?
Yes, out of luck.
7-point game. Baltimore Poly leading St. John's College High School. Two teams that are separated by an hour and 2 minutes, give or take a couple of hours depending on traffic. From the left corner, Leggett. Dribble drive and the dish to James Wood.
And you can see how excited Leggett gets when he gives a dish to his guy. I mean, that's a good teammate right there. He gets excited for his team when he makes a play for somebody else, and that's your leader.
Here's Raheem Ali to Lewis. Lewis out of control, but does find the basket and extends the lead for Baltimore Poly. Quickly ahead, though, Wilson brings it back out and will set the offense. Just under 5 minutes to play.
And this zone is throwing St. John's a little bit of a wrinkle, but they're handling it well so far. See, a lot of times what happens, I don't really agree with that call.
Well, they call Wilson with the travel.
It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not. But, what it.
You have the microphone, though.
This is true. Now, but what it does is a lot of times when a zone is thrown at teams, they'll just settle for 3-point shots, assuming they can't get to the paint. St. John's has been deliberate in continuing to attack the paint and playing from inside out.
Look at the length of Kwame Evans Jr. wearing number 12 in red. And from the left corner, the three-pointer in and out, but rebounded to Hansberry.
And my point exactly, St. John's then goes to zone. Poly circles the perimeter with passing and then shoots a corner three. Not a bad shot. It's your best player, Justin Lewis, shooting it. However, if you keep attacking the paint, sometimes you can break that zone down and maybe even get them to change their defense again.
Stop, pop, three, drop for Ishmael Leggett, a 6'4" senior.
And that's a leader. He is barking at his guys, and there's no question why they have been so good, and they're still undefeated when you have a leader like that.
Around the key, trying to find an entryway, and Lewis forces himself inside and picks up a couple of points along the way.
And Lewis with such touch around the rim, awkward shot there off the glass, just really well done.
Colin, you played point guard when you were at Coastal Carolina University?
I did. Thank you for saying, like, oh, you could have played something else other than point guard,
Well, you weren't going to be a center.
Being my size, there was no other option, buddy.
Colin, I know you played point guard at Coastal for a while and then went into the, was it the ABA?
It was.
The
ABA. I played a year in the ABA.
With your head coach, I believe at the time, was Chris Beard.
Chris Beard.
24-18, Baltimore Poly leads St. John's. We'll be back for the last 3 minutes of the first half. This is the Beach Ball Classic from Myrtle Beach. It's a 6-point lead for Poly out of Baltimore Poly out of Baltimore, Maryland over St. John's Cadets out of Washington, D.C. 24-18 here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, inside the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. And as you look at the crowd, Colin, you say to yourself, a big-time tournament. There's a lot of empty seats tonight, but we are in South Carolina, and most folks might not know this, but Clemson is playing for the national not national championship,
semis,
but in the semis tonight. And so a lot of folks are going to attend that event, shall we say.
And they are missing a fantastic basketball game.
And these stands do indeed, and the entire arena fills up, especially on finals day, New Year's Eve, and we'll have that broadcast as well as we broadcast all of the winners brackets of the Beach Ball Classic. Back to action. Raheem Ali now to Miree. A long three-pointer on the way. And quickly ahead to Mack. Mack across the timeline. From the left elbow, long three-pointer. Extra effort and back up with it. Had it stripped. Got to be a foul along the way somewhere. And Christian Watson will go to the line for a couple.
And Hansberry is the one who kept that alive for St. John's. You know, those extra possessions on the offensive end are such difference makers. So offensive rebounding is a big key, and instead of walking away with 0 points there for St. John's, they walk away with 3, and they pick up this pressure they're in right now. They're showing a 2-2-1, it looks like. Poly's done a great job with it early.
Poly's led by 7 most of the game, and now just up by 3, make it 5.
Kwame Evans finally gets on the board. Freshman, great size. He'll grow into that body some, but kid that's that big that can move that well.
Here's Leggett inside amongst the trees. Can't get it to fall, and a lot of contact underneath.
And you got Hansberry again getting another offensive rebound and the putback this time
for the 6'7" freshman. Here's Miree. Over to Lindsay. To Ali. They'll find their guy. A slip underneath. A lost shoe. A shot and a defensive rebound. And Adam Walden will try to reapply the shoe to his foot as St. James tries to put the ball in the net.
And Leggett getting to the rim again, taking advantage of only 4 Poly players being back. You got to tie your shoes a little tighter, man. You can't be coming out of your shoe, especially on the defensive end.
Maybe he's just that powerful.
Now look, he looks like a grown man, so I'm not surprised.
3-point game. To the line is Ishmael Leggett. He's a Rhode Island commit, 6'4" senior. And Leggett with 9 points in the game, leads all scorers. Make it 10 now.
And St. John's has a big edge at the free throw line. They've probably taken 6 to 8 more attempts than Poly, and that's what's really kept them in this game. Got a chance to only be down 1.
Love that backboard shot from Lucky Dog Television Productions. Every year they just get better and better and put on a bigger show. More toys.
They do a fantastic job.
More toys.
Oh, that is the dead corner. And that is exactly what that zone pressure is meant to do from St. John's. As soon as Poly crosses half court, they want to double team in this corner. Some people call it the coffin corner. Half court and the sideline act as 2 other defenders, and then you've got 2 more defenders that are trapping, and the young freshman gets duped into it, and there's a turnover.
Here's Leggett, loses a handle on it, right into the hands of Ali. Speedy Ali, and a blocking call fouled for St. John's. And a few go against Malik Mack.
A few players have been slipping out here. They're just playing with such high intensity, you know, and they push the ball down the court, get another opportunity. They still haven't really been in the free throw line. Poly has not been in the free throw line very much, so kudos to St. John's for playing good enough defense to not send them there.
You know, it's one of the things about top-tier teams. They're capable of performing and executing with speed.
Yes.
To Miree. Another left side, and turnover. St. John's will get the ball back with a chance to take the lead.
Brandon Murray was thinking flare screen. Bryce Lindsay was popping out behind the screen. Another turnover.
Under a minute to play here in the first half of the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you for tuning in, either online or on Stadium.
And this is a big, sometimes this is undervalued as well. St. John's runs a play to get the ball into the post to Hansberry, and the reason they didn't get into the post wasn't because of great defensive position in the post. It was great defensive position on the entry pass, and there was good defense, so they couldn't get it in. Even though Poly gets caught playing poor inbound defense.
Baltimore Poly led by as much as 7 at one point. St. John's has battled back, and this could tie it up. And Leggett does.
And he's been taking advantage of every opportunity at the free throw line.
Ishmael Leggett with 12 points in the game. He's made all 5 of his free throws. And you know what happens when an announcer says something like that?
The announcer's curse hit him.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know.
The announcer strikes again. Just at 30 seconds to go now in the first half. And a nice strip. Foul came, though, from Poly's Kwame Evans Jr.
And this is what happened. Kwame Evans can put the ball on the deck, and his boys saw him matched up against Hansberry, and they said, go at him without so many words. But St. John's defense, it wasn't Hansberry that got the steal. It was the guy that was in the gap. And so St. John's defends as a team. They come up with a steal, and they find themselves back at the free throw line.
Here's Malik Mack. And Mack looking for his first points of the game. He's not able to get it to fall. Tie ball game. This would be a great effort by St. John's to get it back to this point. On the field, St. John's has shot 40% from the field tonight, 50% for Poly. Still battling for the ball, St. John's. And Poly's going to have to get off a wide open 3. Does. The extra effort for Ali will reset the offense with 10 seconds to go. Another 3. Missed the first, make the second for Raymond English. 29-27 is the lead for Baltimore Poly. And Colin, 2 teams that came in undefeated, scrappy on the court, talented players. Has it lived up to the hype?
Absolutely. No surprise that it's only a 2-point spread here at halftime, and I expect a fantastic second half.
As we continue on, Baltimore Poly, of course, led by Sam Brand, the engineer, 6-0 on the season. We talked about these 2 teams being just an hour and 4 minutes apart, depending on traffic, just a few miles, and St. John's 9-0. And looking at scoring for these teams, Poly led by Brandon Murray with 10 points. He had 23 last night, so he is their guy for Poly. For St. John's, led by Leggett with 12 points now. And Leggett had 23 points as well in the game yesterday. So 2 evenly matched teams coming in, and it's going to be a battle in the second half to see who can advance in the Beach Ball Classic.
Absolutely, and the difference being in St. John's closing that gap. They got to the free throw line. They changed up their defense probably 6 or 7 times, showing half-court man-to-man, half-court zone, full-court man-to-man, full-court zone, 2-on-2, 1-2-2. They keep mixing it up, and it's made Poly have to really make adjustments.
We'll come back in just a moment with the HTC Halftime Report and Banana Jack Murphy. And second half coming up as Baltimore Poly leads St. John's 29-27 from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Look at the screen. This is the Beach Ball Classic from Myrtle Beach.
You wear many hats, and HTC knows what you need to keep the day running smoothly. You're an entertainment coordinator, appointment maker, and business superhero. You're a personal chef, chauffeur extraordinaire, and a trusted protector. No matter where life takes you, HTC keeps you connected by bringing world-class technology right here to Horry and Georgetown counties, because you are here, and so are we. HTC, this is life. Connect with it.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Myrtle Beach. Visit myrtlebeach.com makes it possible for us to randomly choose folks that are enjoying retirement.
That is correct.
Hey, Paul Edwards, good seeing you.
Thank you, Jack.
You used to be the guy that called all the shots here at the convention center day in and day out, and this is like no small undertaking to get ready for the convention center.
No,
for the beach ball.
it's not. And there's a lot of preparation from the city side, and from the beach ball committee side too. And now I've got to experience both of those. And it's really not a lot of difference for me, except, the pay is not as good now.
So when did you actually call it quits? Was it back in the spring?
February 28th.
Okay.
Yeah, just after my birthday. So, and it was kind of a good birthday present for me. But,
Sure.
I had a lot of memories here with the city, 33 years. So,
Wow.
But I told people, I'm not going to retire from beach ball. I'm just retiring from the city.
Well, you were working like same as always.
That's right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was good to see you here this year.
Yeah, okay. Well, I appreciate that. And a lot of people say they're glad to see me. And they said, I thought you were retired. And I said, well, I have. But, I'll never get away from beach ball because I love it.
Well, I noticed that some folks, obviously, they didn't know you'd retired because they're asking you technical questions about how this works. I mean, you know the answer, but you point them in another direction.
Right. I can't help but keep saying, we, but, it's them now. So, but, I still answer some questions that I feel like it's okay to answer. But the staff here at the convention center is in charge of that now, and I let them do that. I trained them well, I think, and they're under good management now, and so they can do the job.
Do you miss it at all? I mean,
Yeah.
because this is usually after this, you
Yeah.
break down really quickly. And
That's right. There's a lot of people that I've met over the years, working 20 years here at the center, and I still come up and see them at some of their shows, but
Sure.
I come to it as a visitor now, and it's still good to see them. I made a lot of friendships over those years.
well, you lived here and you're retiring here. I thought
Right.
you might go somewhere else. But
Well, we are going to do some traveling. My wife looks like she's going to retire in June from the
Okay.
school system after 44 years, and so we're going to take some trips and maybe spend a little more time in the mountains.
yeah,
Yep.
those mountains are nice, but nothing like the beach this time of the year.
No. Well, she doesn't understand why I can spend all this time at beach ball, but if you've been in as long as I have, you know why you're here.
The old habits are hard
Yeah,
to break. You
that's
can't
right.
beat the action. Good seeing you, Paul.
Thank you, Jack.
Enjoy the retirement,
Okay.
as always. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Got to work with him through the years, many years of doing events here at the Convention Center. Good to see him here for the Beach Ball Classic. We want to see you back on the other side of this as well. More great stuff about our city and the entire Grand Strand. Just a click away at visitmyrtlebeach.com. More right after this.
There's an amazing place where family vacation memories are made and shared over and over again, where new experiences never disappoint, and where the only thing better than visiting is coming back again. Book your family vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com and discover amazing values on area accommodations and family-friendly attractions. There's never been a better time to visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where family time has never been so much fun.
Let's talk about stats, huh? It's the 39th Annual Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we have a good one underway. It's Baltimore Poly Engineers out of Baltimore, Maryland, an undefeated 6-0 team against the St. John's Cadets out of Washington, D.C., another undefeated team, 9-0 on the season. Two teams that are roughly an hour apart, know each other well, and are battling it on the court. Both of these teams want to go back home with a Beach Ball Classic trophy and the prestige of winning this tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we had a great first half, and as I look at the stat sheet, there's a couple things that jump out. The reason that Poly has the edge right now is they're 5 for 12 from 3, where St. John's only has 1 3-pointer. And then St. John's has done a good job of getting to the free throw line. They've been there 13 times, whereas Poly's only been there twice. And so they've also got the rebounding edge. So it was a fantastic first half. We can see Hansberry here getting to work on the glass, and that's been a huge difference for St. John's, as they do have the rebounding lead. And Justin Lewis here we see.
But Brandon Miree, he's their guy.
Absolutely, yep.
And leading scorer for the team, able to put it in outside, underneath the court. The follow for Miree, and he's all over the court, but your guy Justin Lewis, the Marquette signee as well, making an impact. Raheem Ali right to the basket, just up and under, quick, speedy point guard.
Both of these teams talented, getting to the rim. Good size and speed, athleticism. Leggette's done a great job in his own right.
Yeah, Leggett, the Rhode Island commit, but Baltimore Poly consistent, had a 7-point lead at one point, but it's down to 2 now for St. John's. But look at that three-pointer by Bryce Lindsey. And back to work for Justin Lewis. To Brandon Miree, the combo drops the 3.
And I'll tell you what, Brandon Miree, this is a breakout tournament for him. He's shooting that thing super confident, and coaches are definitely looking at him as a guard that they could pull into their program. And his body is already ready for college.
Wow! Look at the hammer from St. John's, and that is James Wood. Back the other way, of course, though. Justin Lewis says, "Well, I'll add my own 2."
And Justin Lewis is a talented player all the way through. He can get to the rim. He can shoot it. You got a freshman here.
Yeah, Kwame Evans Jr. able to drop it as well. Just a lot of talented players, Colin. While the halftime interview was going on with Banana Jack Murphy just a moment ago, people said, well, are there Division I players on these teams? There's a ton of Division I players on these teams. And you can look at the leading scorers for Poly, led by Lewis with 9 points and Miree with 10 points. The shooting for both of these teams has been about 50-40%, somewhere along in there, with Baltimore Poly shooting 50% from the field, 11 for 22, and St. John's 40% from the field, 8 for 20.
What's interesting about these stats, though, is that Wilson has 2 points. He's got no rebounds, no assists, no fouls. You don't see much of a stat line, but he's absolutely controlled the game for St. John's. And so he is a guard who he controls the pace, the tempo. He puts guys in the right spots. He delivers the ball at the right time, and he has controlled the game without showing much on the stat sheet.
And Wilson, of course, you got some offers from Manhattan, Iona, and JMU. And we continue to name these because these are guys you'll see playing college basketball next year. In a lot of cases here at the Beach Ball Classic, you're going to see these guys, some of these guys in the NBA as well.
Absolutely, and it still sticks out to me, Malcolm Brogdon, when he came. I'm sorry, I forget who he was here with, the team from Georgia. And I was impressed with him. I knew he was going to Virginia, but I was impressed with his demeanor on the court. Little did I know he was going to be an absolute stud in the NBA, 5-6 years later. And the players here, it's a great stage for them to grow, get opportunity, and we will see them a lot on TV in years to come.
Poly will control to start the second half with a 2-point lead, 2 16-minute halves here in the Beach Ball Classic, and this will determine who advances to play tomorrow night in the semifinals.
Great execution, first play for Poly. They get Justin Lewis in the mid-post, and he just gets a chance to go to work one-on-one, and he's going to score a lot of those.
Raymond English. I'm sorry. Showing Lancaster. Inside now for Hansberry. Up underneath. Jumper. Falls.
And Hansberry doesn't get off the floor very well, but he has really good footwork. He's got great size, and he's got good touch around the rim. They also go inside right away. So interesting for both teams wanting to go inside right off the bat.
Lewis was calling for the ball. Takes the three, and Ali, who fed it to him, has to go back for the rebound. Long three on the way for Lindsay. He can't get that one to fall either. Quickly ahead, Wilson. Took a couple of extra steps around his defender, but going to get a blocking call, I think.
And you see,
yeah, they're going to call St. John's.
The absolute fire from Raheem Ali. He plays with a different type of fire. This is a kid who lost his mother when he was 13 years old. And he comes he's got a different passion for what he does, and he plays for her. It's part of why he does what he does. But you can see he plays with a ton of intensity and passion, and it means so much to him as he plays in honor of his mom.
Three-pointer on the way, in and out for Justin Lewis. By the way, that last foul was on John Mikey Square for St. John's. It'll be his third, and up off the glass for St. John's is Leggett.
Leggett pushes the pace, but such control for him to be able to get to the rim and finish.
And he ties the ball game.
St. John's shows 2-3 zone here. Poly makes an adjustment. Let's see if they can do anything where they're actually getting the rim. Justin Lewis has taken 2 threes these past couple possessions.
St. John's led for about a minute 26 early in the game, but since then it's been all Baltimore Poly. St. John's has been working themselves back in and now tied. Where do we go from here? The three-pointer, and St. John's with an easy defensive rebound for Mr. Hansberry. Leggett to Hansberry, the freshman, to Wilson. Leggett. And the steal, takeaway, deflection. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's going to go in the record books. And a foul going to be called as well against St. John's.
And St. John's taking their time offensively. Unfortunately, have a poor turnover there, but they're taking their time. They are controlling the tempo of this game. They're changing up offenses. They're changing up defenses, and it's throwing Poly out of their rhythm. Let's see if Poly can get anything going towards the rim right now. They've taken threes in the past few possessions.
And it hasn't worked out well for them. Another turnover. And Wilson looks inside for Hansberry. Back up with it, Leggett. His own rebound. And then the easy one. As St. John's takes the lead for the first time since, well, early in the first half.
No surprise it was Leggett getting in the mix there with that finish.
Ali to Murray to Lewis. Lewis dribble drive inside, stop, pop, drop.
And that's what you've got to get. You've got to get something going towards the rim, a little 10-footer there for Lewis, who's got great touch, but he can't keep settling for three-pointers if that's what St. John's is trying to get you to do. Slow it down and just shoot threes. I tell you what.
Body work by Hansberry.
Hansberry is giving Lewis all he wants in the post. Very good footwork. He's patient in there, and he's got great touch.
Bryce Lindsay now, the 6-foot sophomore, controls the offense. Ali swinging around to Lewis. Murray from the elbow, can't get it to fall, and another rebound for Hansberry. Quickly ahead, we find Wilson. The speed and burst. A blocking call made, and it's a lead for St. John's by 2 when we return here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is the Beach Ball Classic. It's a 2-point lead for St. John's out of Washington, D.C. over the Baltimore Poly Engineers out of Baltimore, Maryland. Both teams coming in undefeated here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the 39th edition. I am Tyler Watkins. Colin Stevens is sitting courtside with me. And Colin, to this point of the second half, is it going as you expected?
Well, yes, and no.
Okay.
St. John's has dictated this half, and what they've done is they've forced Poly into shooting threes. Poly's 0 for 4 in this half of shooting threes, and they really need to keep getting to the rim. They need to keep attacking, and sometimes a zone, it just makes you complacent as a ball club, and that's what St. John's has done for the first part of this second half, and it's been successful for them so far. Let's see if Poly makes the adjustment coming out of that media timeout.
Well, Poly was 5 for 12 in the first half from behind the three-point line, and as you said, 0 for 4 now. And at the line for a couple is St. John's, John Manzi Wilson. 6 points in the game last night, misses the second, and he'll stick with 3 points in this game so far. Over to English, to Ali. Murray in the right corner, and they battle at the top of the key. Bryce Lindsay. The guards swinging around, looking inside, and finally find Lewis.
And Poly being more patient,
but still being forced to look from outside.
They can't crack that three-point line, but they have to do it with a pass because they've tried to attack from the top and the wings. And see what happens? Things collapse once they get that ball inside that three-point line.
And a nice floater inside for Raymond English, just found a lane.
And you just love seeing the discipline. They were not going to shoot a three on that possession. Very well coached.
No shot clock here in South Carolina.
And there is no mandatory shot clock in high school basketball. It's different everywhere. It's definitely a change that needs to be made.
We talked about the Beach Ball Classic and the heritage here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is the 39th annual, and as I take a look at some of the players that have been here, just wanted to roll off some names for you. You might recognize the name Jason Kidd or Grant Hill or Kwame Brown or this guy. How about Kobe Bryant or Danny Ferry or let's see who else. Kobe Simmons, Ray Allen, Kenny Anderson, Mike Bibby, Ramon Sessions, Kawhi Leonard. That name sounds familiar, doesn't it? He played here at the Beach Ball Classic. Kyrie Irvin, as did Luke Kennard, Raymond Felton, Vince Carter. The list is so long it takes up multiple pages, and they've had to go to that, looks like 1-point font. It's so small.
And 39 years of tradition. It's just gotten better and better. And I mean, the players are what make the tournament. I mean, let's absolutely give them their due. But the tournament itself has been high caliber for so long. It's pretty awesome.
And it's really set the standard nationally for the tournaments that have followed based on the hospitality that is provided here in Myrtle Beach. As these guys come and they stay oceanfront in a lot of cases, and transportation is sometimes provided for them. Sometimes they get to go out on the town and go to different attractions like Ripley's Aquarium or WonderWorks or whatever that's been set up for that particular year. But these guys may never, in some cases, they've never seen the ocean. In some cases, they may never see it again. It depends on the team, of course, that comes. But a lot of times these kids would never come to Myrtle Beach, and they get the chance to come now and play in a prestigious basketball tournament and compete and have some fun in the middle of the winter.
Absolutely.
Poly with a 2-point lead, 10 minutes to go in this game. Still the winners brackets games here in the Beach Ball Classic. And we go the other way with it. Thought about the three, up and under, and was successful earlier for Malik Mack, and he finds the net again to tie it.
And the game is opened up a little bit. You see Poly bringing some pressure after a made bucket, after the free throw, and you see St. John's willing to push it in transition. The benefit for being a shooter is that when you head fake, just as Malik Mack did on his catch, Then it just drew it was enough of a hesitation for the defender to bite on it, and he got to the rim. Acrobatic finish at the net, and it's opened up. Super entertaining. 38-38. I don't know who's got this one.
Well, that's one of the things you find at the Beach Ball Classic as it advances. The games get tighter and closer, and we've had some pretty close ones today. Let's see who has the ball at the end. For Poly, Justin Lewis is stretching out that right hand. Looked like he might have jammed a finger a moment ago. Maybe it's the left hand. Ahead to Evans. Evans loses a handle on it, and the speed of St. John's the other way now. Malik Mack, the freshman, loses it himself. Scramble on the court. Jump ball possession will go towards St. John's, and they will keep the ball under their own basket.
And it's getting sloppy a little bit, but you still have to love it. There's like 9 players on the court. You know, you're the odd guy if you're not diving on the floor. That's how much, how bad these guys want it.
You don't want to be that guy that's still standing around watching when they show film tomorrow to the entire team. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Malik Mack will inbound the ball. The freshman finds Miree up underneath.
And a very simple out-of-bounds under. And it's a little back screen, and Poly does not switch it right. They've gotten burned on it a couple of times. And that's another little undervalued area, is you can score from taking that ball out of bounds underneath the bucket. You're very close to the basket, and St. John's executes well.
I apologize. That basket was by John Mikey Square Jr. Poly's still struggling to get it in the paint.
Yes.
From the corner. Weak side rebound for Leggett.
And another 3. Don't believe the ball touched the paint.
Pass and give on the cut for Hansberry.
Hansberry has been dominating this game on the inside.
Another freshman, 6'7".
From the rebounding perspective, his touch around, his finishing around the rim. Poly needs to figure this zone out. It is destroying them right now. They have to get Miree going. Very good defense from St. John's. And they forced into a terrible 3 from the top of the zone.
Yeah, Miree struggled with the conditioning just a little bit yesterday. And it seems like he's starting to get winded now. He plays virtually every minute of the game.
Yep.
Just to be clear, I couldn't make it up and down the court 3 or 4 times. So
fantastic post entry there from Leggett. Hansberry had his man sealed on the bottom side, and instead of throwing it to where you may throw a post entry right there, he throws it to the open hand for Hansberry. Great hands, and he gets the finish.
St. John's with the lead now by 6 over Baltimore Poly. And again, as we talked, at one point in the first half, St. John's led early, very early, 1 minute and 5 seconds in, but only just for a brief bit, and then it was all Baltimore Poly with the lead, and St. John's came back and now extending. Colin, let's talk about games earlier today. And Harvard Westlake defeated Morgan Park 59-53 in the 12 o'clock game. Myrtle Beach defeated University out of West Virginia in the 145 game, 79-73. That was a shocker for a lot of folks.
And Myrtle Beach is a tough team this year. Super well coached from Craig Martin, and they've got a bunch of high-quality players. They play the same way every night. Kudos to a great win for them, and kudos to the Myrtle Beach group.
Dorman defeated Whitney Young 59-56, and then Coronado out of Nevada defeated St. Francis. St. Francis defeated Coronado 81-77.
And that was a matchup, man. That was really fun.
Another one coming after this at the 8:45 game, Long Island Lutheran versus Millennium out of Arizona. And people often ask me, which is the best game to go to? From this point on, every game is the best one to go to in the Beach Ball Classic. Poly shooting 42% from the field, St. John's 50% from the field. Talk about Poly's three-point game. They're 0 for 6 in the second half. And St. John's just taking one shot. They missed it from outside the arc. More of an inside-the-paint team as St. John's has 30 points inside the paint. Matches their total in the paint last night, but now they've topped that.
Guess who I haven't seen shoot for Poly from the outside in the second half? That guy right there.
Miree?
Brandon Miree. He needs to get some touches on a quick swing. He can shoot this one right here. And that's your guy.
And he drops it.
I don't know why anybody else is shooting from outside the three from him right now. And look, if they bust it, if they make a few of those, then they're also going to be able to pull them out of the zone.
Right. He's 3 for 4 from behind the arc so far in this game. With 6.5 minutes to go, the winner of this game will go on to play tomorrow night, or Monday night, rather, at 8:45 against the winner of the next game, and the loser will face the loser of the next game. That'll happen at 5:15 on Monday. Wide open outside, three-pointer on the way, lined up, but just a little short. Down with it and back. Who's our guy? Hansberry. He's been everything.
I'm telling you, I am more and more impressed with him. They post speed. He gets double team. He's got a cross-court pass, gets it out of there quickly. Then he gets the offensive rebound and the putback. He's doing everything.
Dribble drive baseline. Swinging around. Hansberry with a double-double now. 15 points and 10 rebounds.
And the story of the second half is St. John's defense.
You don't. Sometimes as a broadcaster, you see things and you let things go the first time you see them, the second time, third time. Well, now it's the fourth time that I've seen something similar from Justin Lewis from Baltimore Poly. It's little things that he does, and let me give you a description. In the lane just earlier, when everybody was all just, the play had stopped and everything, he walked by one of the players with his elbow up in his face and dragged it across. Well, as they were going down court just a minute ago, he stuck his hand out and grabbed the jersey of Hansberry just to hold him back just a moment or so. You know, that's basketball, I guess, right? Until the official calls it.
Until the official calls it, but really it's playing distracted. If you get caught up into little one-on-one battles with guys because they're scoring or they're doing this, and you get frustrated and you do some of those little chippy things, it actually takes you away from what your team needs. Right now, Justin Lewis needs to be a playmaker for his team on the offensive end. He draws a lot. The draw and kick to Miree would be my design on this second half. Now, look, Coach Brand, he does a phenomenal job, but Murray's got to get going from the outside. Nobody else really should shoot from the outside, maybe other than, Bryce Lindsey. He can also shoot it, but Justin Lewis, and look, he's been pulled out of the game. And let's see if Poly makes any sort of adjustments with Lewis out.
And quickly, I look up, and it's a 9-point lead for St. John's. St. John's College High School. Out of Washington, D.C. versus Baltimore Poly Engineers out of Baltimore, Maryland. And a long three-pointer is good by Bryce Lindsey.
And those are the two guys that can crack the zone. Now, Poly picks up with some pressure, but really it's just man-to-man. They're not forcing any traps.
St. John's coming in 9-0 on the season. Their head coach, Patrick Bien, his third year here, and he's had 2 20-plus win seasons. So knows how to coach, knows how to make those adjustments, and he's got his team back out to a 6-point lead here against Baltimore Poly.
And a travel for Ali there. He was totally out of control. Totally out of control that whole possession with the ball. Justin Lewis back in the game. Let's see if he makes any adjustments.
Christian Watson into the game, wearing number 11 in white. 6'7" sophomore, being looked at by George Mason and Stony Brook. Had 4 points last night. And being trapped in the backcourt. And Miree gets a handle on it, but St. John's will get it back.
And that's so frustrating. You execute defensively, you trap the ball, you get a turnover, but you just can't come up with it.
Under 5 minutes to play. 6-point lead for St. John's, and they have to dish it to the backcourt to Wilson. Finding square to Wilson. Looking inside for Hansberry in the battle with Lewis. Wide open cross for Watson, calling for it. And they get it over to Square, who battles Murray, gets some spacing, and will get it to fall. We'll have to wait for the call. Looked like an off-the-ball foul. Just over 4 minutes.
And I always like it when the referees get together and they talk about what the call is. Like, to me, like, let's get the best call. You don't feel like you are the guy that needs to make the call. When the referees get together and they make the right call, it's always best for the game.
Well, they count the basket and they attach the foul as well. And they give it to 52-44, under 4 minutes. We're back in a moment for more and a wrap-up here from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is the Beach Ball Classic.
You wear many hats, and HTC knows what you need to keep the day running smoothly. You're an entertainment coordinator, appointment maker, and business superhero. You're a personal chef, chauffeur extraordinaire, and a trusted protector. No matter where life takes you, HTC keeps you connected by bringing world-class technology right here to Horry and Georgetown counties, because you are here, and so are we. HTC, this is life. Connect with it.
The St. John's Cadets out of Washington, D.C. lead the Baltimore Poly Engineers out of Baltimore, Maryland, 52-44 in the winners brackets games here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Tyler Watkins, Colin Stevens courtside. And Colin, as we look at the stat sheet, something sticks out to me. It's the flip in shooting percentage. Poly started out the first half 50% shooting, down to 37% in the second half. But on the flip side, St. John's shot 40% in the first half, now 67% in the second half.
Yeah, it's a big change, and a lot of it has to do with extra opportunities at the rim for St. John's. They are leading this offensive rebounding battle. The rebounding battle altogether, 25-16. And although they have a little mishap there, they've had a fantastic second half. Also, Hansberry's a guy we've been calling his name, I mean, gosh, almost every play.
Yep.
He's got a double-double already. He's been controlling the paint. He's been doing a great job. And St. John's has been to the free throw line 15 times to Poly 3.
Hansberry with 17 points in the game. Leggett with 18 points for St. John's. Poly is led by Lewis with 13 and Murray with 13. Murray had 23 last night. They virtually shut him out. I say virtually because it's a 10-point difference. It's pretty significant.
Right. But what I have to credit St. John's with doesn't show up on the stat sheet, and it's controlling tempo. And they've put Poly on their heels with that 2-3 zone that has just confused them and made it difficult for them. And, you know, Poly just hasn't made the full adjustment yet.
Ishmael Leggett swinging around. Keep control. How long do you keep the ball? There's no shot clock.
As long as you need to. You know what they want? They want a post entry and they want to get a bucket at the rim. If they don't get it, they're being patient enough.
Find the open cutter, huh? Baseline dribble drive, gets trapped, but will get a shot off, and the defensive pressure worked in Poly's favor. Not a long way to go, though, with that 8-point deficit.
And Coach Behan is not happy right now. In fact, he's pulling Christian Watson over there and saying, that's not the shot we want. We just worked about a minute off the clock, and we didn't get what we want. He's teaching his guys to be more disciplined.
Stay tuned immediately following this game as we select our HTC Player of the Game Award winner. The broadcast crew will select the premier performer in today's game to be honored by HTC. This is life. Connect with it. Find out more by visiting htcconnect.com.
Guess who hits a three?
Brandon Miree.
Brandon Miree. And it baffles me. They should not, Poly should not be able to get zoned. With the way that he can elevate and stroke it, with the way that Bryce Lindsey can stroke it, they shouldn't. Now what happened is it got a little fool's gold sometimes when you play against the zone offensively. It just makes you stagnant, and you don't think that you can keep your movement and your momentum. So kudos St. John's for making that adjustment. But when you have the threats that Poly has from beyond the arc, you know, Justin Lewis has got to figure out a way to do his damage from inside 15 feet when it comes to zone time.
Sam Brand for the Baltimore Poly Engineers takes a timeout. And looking at scores, Miree up to 16 points now in the game. And they've said that virtually shut him down earlier, but this guy can come alive in the last few minutes, and with just 5 points, that's not a big deficit right now.
Absolutely, and it's not. I'm sure that Poly is coming with some pressure here. And what St. John's does, now look, this is the other thing. If you try to hold the ball for too long, sometimes you get a little bit passive. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you aren't the aggressor. You're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And it's really important that St. John's doesn't take that edge off of what they're doing.
St. John's inbounds the ball, moving left to right, Ishmael Leggett.
Man-to-man pressure. They double team and rotate just too late on the rotation for Poly.
St. John's trying to kill that clock, and a foul going to be committed on the outside. That'll go against Lamuth.
And this is the only issue when you play good defense without fouling. You get to the end of the game and you need to get to 7 for 1-and-1. Well, they only have 4 right now.
Wilson inside to Hansberry. And Hansberry.
And I think Coach Behan has pretty much told his guys, if we don't get the ball to Hansberry close to the rim, just bring it up. Be patient. Everything, good things happen when he gets the rock.
Hansberry, the 6'7" freshman with multiple offers already, has 18 points in the game, 11 rebounds. And he's 2 for 3 from the free throw line. One steal for Hansberry, who at this point might be the player of the game. Makes the second. Hansberry with 19 now. Hansberry leads all scorers. Bryce Lindsey around to English. To Lewis. Stripped out of his hands by Hansberry. And they'll have to corral it. Does Leggett, who's able to. He comes down on his ankle a little odd. But down court easily. And wide open is Wilson. On the other side, fundamentals, left-handed layup. Extends the lead for St. John's. Lindsey with the long three from way outside. That's logo shooting.
And he can hit them from there. He's shown that. A minute left. Coach Behan takes a timeout. Make sure his guys finish this game right for this last minute.
58-50. This is the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. If you're watching on your computer, you're watching on TV, wherever you're watching, do us a favor and pull up a web browser. You can use Firefox or Chrome or whatever you prefer to do. And go to visitmyrtlebeach.com. Let's take a look at that HTC replay. Long three from the logo. Finds the bottom of the net.
About 28 feet there from Bryce Lindsay. And he's hit a couple of threes in the second half, but it's not been enough for what St. John's has had.
Well, if you're Baltimore Poly's coach, Sam Brand, what do you tell your team in the timeout?
You tell them it's not over. Like, it's not over until it hits double zeros. And they've got to bring pressure. They've got to force a quick turnover. If they don't get a quick turnover, then they've got to foul quickly too, because you know it's 2 more fouls before they get into the one-on-one bonus. The other thing is too, you got to make sure that you don't foul St. John's. They're better free throw shooters. You can't foul Leggett. You can't foul Hansberry. Hansberry's not even on the court right now. They've got more ball handlers, more speed to counteract the pressure coming from Poly.
St. John's will inbounds. They find Leggett. Leggett, the senior. Over to Wilson. Wilson cross court to Mack. And they're going to foul the 6-foot freshman point guard.
And so right now, St. John's has their best ball handlers, their best free throw shooters in the game.
And had a foul to give. The next one with the 1-and-1. Now to Wilson. Murray lays hands on him, and that should send Wilson to the line for 1-and-1.
And as a point guard, this is for all of you young point guards out there. This is where you solidify your leadership for the team. You have to make free throws at the end of games. You have to be a fantastic free throw shooter. And really, it's just repetition. It's repetition and it's confidence. But as a point guard, this is where you finish leading for your team.
Just as a reminder, both of these teams coming into the Beach Ball Classic undefeated. St. John's 9-0, Baltimore Poly 6-0. Baltimore, the 3-time defending state champions. Long three-pointer from Murray. In and out, and the defensive rebound again for St. John's. We talked about the rebounding difference earlier, Colin. It's been St. John's tonight.
The whole way, and it's not an extensive size advantage that they have. It's really they've just really outworked on the glass. They've outworked Poly, and Hansberry's been in the mix of so many of them. I tell you what, I'm really impressed with how hard Leggett plays. He plays with a different kind of fire and intensity, and he maximizes what that 6'4" body can do for him.
1-and-1's good.
And you see Leggett, like, that's a leader. He goes from half court to make sure that he knows, he taps his guy on the rear and says, nice shot, nice free throw. It's a leader.
Wilson makes both of them. By the way, rebounding difference, St. John's 29 rebounds and Poly 18 in the game. With 23 seconds left, Colin, let's talk about who's going to be the HTC MVP in this game. Is it Leggett or is it Hansberry?
And I think Leggett has had a fantastic game, and while he is the leader of the team, I really believe that the freshman made the biggest difference. Dominated the game on the glass, scoring at the rim, and nullifying what Justin Lewis has not done anything the second half. I know it has to do with the zone, but he has cleared the glass. He's owned it. He's done a fantastic job. I would have to give it to Hansberry.
Hansberry's my vote as well. His contribution to this game and the difference he's made has pushed this team to victory as Murray is able to drop the outside 3 to bring them within 4, and there's 10 seconds left. And the MVP, of course, will come from the winning team, which is still to be decided. We've seen this happen before.
It is. And Brandon Murray, like, why would he not be the guy that's shooting almost every time from the outside for you? He's got a phenomenal stroke. He's very confident. And sometimes, just sometimes, St. John's has done the job of slowing them down when they've gone to that 2-3 zone. I don't know if they've taken their foot off the gas here, but it's not over. Brandon Murray has got a fantastic stroke.
Does conditioning come into it at any time?
Absolutely.
2 games, 3 games in 2 days?
Absolutely.
You play back-to-back games on a longer court, an extra 10 feet on this court as well? Is it?
Yes, but you see it. You see Leggett on this side. I mean, he started cramping up over here on that one finish. but he still has enough energy to sprint 30 feet to give his guy a, hey, nice shot, nice free throw. You know, let's win this thing. And so it does come down to conditioning, but it doesn't come down to conditioning right now. It comes down to conditioning 2 months ago. How prepared were you coming into the season? How good was your body? How fit were you coming into the season so that you can be ready for these type of tournaments?
Square Jr. will inbounds for St. John's, and they find Leggett. The foul's going to be called against Miree, and Brandon Miree with 2 fouls in the game, make it 3 now.
And Poly not trying to foul. They were trying to force a quick pass, seeing if they could get a turnover. Referee calls the foul anyway.
And St. John's just pulls everybody off of the free throw line. Trust Leggett to make a couple on the 1-and-1. St. John's brings it in Malik Mack, along with Wilson, Watson, and Square. And Mr. Consistent, Ishmael Leggett. Quickly, Ali, three-pointer on the way. Backboard, defensive rebound, story of the game, rebounding, and St. John's going to defeat the undefeated once again. St. John's defeats Baltimore Poly out of Baltimore, Maryland. Final score 62-56. Colin, you know, for a long time in that first half, we thought this was going to be Baltimore Poly's game, and it was their game to lose.
Well, and the adjustment made by St. John's, fantastic. Two very, very well-coached teams, and they just made the difference at the end, St. John's, in getting control of the tempo of the game with that 2-3 zone.
All right, let's talk about the HTC Premier Performer Award winner. And Colin, you mentioned it earlier, Amani Hansberry, the freshman, 6'7", was really the difference in this game. He was the guy that contributed and made the impact that changed the situation.
And I'm telling you, Amani he's a good athlete, but he's not jumping over everybody. He just controlled the game with his footwork, his body position, his discipline. I'm really, really impressed with the poise of that freshman, and he is a massive reason why they won it.
Well, listen, if you're watching live, we still have more games to go here of the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and we'll tell you more about that in just a moment as we come back. Final score, though, St. John's defeats Poly out of Baltimore 62-56. Back in a moment for more from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. This is the Beach Ball Classic.
There's an amazing place where family vacation memories are made and shared over and over again, where new experiences never disappoint, and where the only thing better than visiting is coming back again. Book your family vacation at visitmyrtlebeach.com and discover amazing values on area accommodations and family-friendly attractions. There's never been a better time to visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where family time has never been so much fun.
Final score, St. John's defeats Poly out of Baltimore, Maryland, 62-56 in another classic beach ball classic game here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. 39th annual game. And, Colin, it's all that we hoped for. Two undefeated teams that are separated by about an hour's drive. And we got all we hoped for here at the Beach Ball Classic.
Absolutely. Two very well-coached teams. Two teams that are very familiar with winning. Neither one of them wanted to lose. And it was really evidence shown by how often they got on the floor for loose balls, how much they battled for rebounds. Like, it was just a fantastic game.
You know, we talked about these games, though. Ishmael Leggett, but Amani Hansberry really the key. And look at him underneath, able to turn around. The freshman who has offers from Virginia Tech and Rhode Island, 6'7", put on an impressive show tonight.
And he did, and he put on an impressive show, and he had no dunks. He had no dunks. If you look at him, he doesn't jump off the floor in this crazy athletic type of way, but he's got great hands. He finishes around the rim. He controls the defenders with his backside because he's a strong player. He plays low. He finishes with either hand, and he plays well advanced in years.
And a big body like that, a kid came in, you never saw him get tired. You never saw him look winded. He came in well conditioned, and St. John's coach Patrick B. N. has his team positioned for a run at the championship of the Beach Ball Classic.
I tell you what, I'm impressed with how well they transitioned from defense to defense. They were so well coached, so well disciplined. They finally made that transition to that 2-3 zone in the second half that made the difference.
Well, the St. John's Cadets will play tomorrow night at 8:45 p.m. and you can watch that on Stadium as we'll broadcast that game and, of course, stream it live as well. The Poly team from Baltimore will play at 5:15 tomorrow against the loser of the team that's on the court and the game that's coming up next. And the winner, of course, St. John's will face the winner of the game coming up next. By the way, Colin, the stats that we have, anything stick out here for you other than Leggett and Hansberry with that scoring? The double-double from Hansberry.
Hansberry played a fantastic game. What we don't see is the team stats that show the difference in defensive rebound or in rebounding and going to the free throw line. And those two things, it does show it, excuse me.
Yep.
So the 30-19 rebounding edge and then getting to the free throw line was a massive difference.
Look at that. 23 free throws for St. John's. Poly
to three. And a lot of times that happens when you shoot a lot of jump shots. You don't get to the free throw line that often. And Poly took the fool's gold of, it's a zone, let's shoot from outside a whole bunch in the second half, and it hurt them.
By the way, coming up next is going to be Millennium out of Arizona versus Long Island Lutheran. Two very good teams here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Tyler Watkins, Colin Stevens, courtside. Colin, I'm going to surprise you with this one, but a lot of people don't know back at home. If you get a chance, check out Colin's book. It is called Coachable. It is the 9 essential elements of basketball excellence and strong faith. This book is available on Amazon. I got my copy today, so I'm going to spend the next few days reading it, and I appreciate that, Colin. Colin, of course, runs F2 as well, a high-level training facility for very high athletes. But, Colin, tell us where we can get the book Coachable by Colin T. Stevens.
It is available on Amazon and other retailers, Barnes & Noble online. And, when we talk about being coachable, a lot of times we want our players to be coachable.
Mm-hmm.
But we often as leaders aren't getting fed to be coachable as well. And we need to be coachable so that we can have, we can be better to prepare the young ones that we're coaching, whether it's our students or our kids or our athletes. What we're expecting out of them, we need to model it ourselves. We need to be coachable so that they are also coachable.
Colin, you bring that up, and you brought it up to me a couple of days ago on this broadcast, and it's been on my mind since. You're exactly right. We teach all these fundamentals to the kids and the people around us, and we expect that of them, but sometimes we don't ask ourselves and take a look at ourselves, and are we coachable? Now, I spoke to the St. Francis coach a couple of days ago. He had 4 elements that he talks about with each one of his kids, and it's attitude, am I giving the best effort, am I a great teammate, and there was one more that, just evaluate yourself every single day and make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing as well. Sometimes we don't look at that. So, again, one last time, Coachable is the name of the book. Colin T. Stevens, you can get it on Amazon, get 2-day shipping, and Colin, you'll sign it for him?
Absolutely. Would love to see you guys here at the tournament.
Yeah. Do you have a couple of copies here at the Beach Ball Classic?
I do.
Yeah. So check that out for us. All right, coming up, we have Millennium versus Long Island Lutheran. It's going to be another good game here at the Beach Ball Classic in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But this final score, St. John's advances to tomorrow night. They defeat Poly out of Baltimore, Maryland, 62-56. Thanks for watching. We're back in a moment from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on the Beach Ball Classic.
There's an amazing place where family vacation memories are made and shared over and over again, where new experiences